My name is Amanda.
And I'm Kristin.
And we are the Exorcisters. So sit back, relax, and let's get creepy. Welcome to Hype Episode 6. And in this bonus Hype episode, we are going to be discussing the brand new movie, Brightburn.
Yes.
That James Gunn produced, who did Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's kind of interesting to bring in that superhero movie background to this super villain. And it also starred Elizabeth Banks and had a pretty solid cast.
Yeah, they did.
It was good. This was scary because even in the trailers you can tell it's literally like, what if the invincible, all-powerful Superman was evil?
Yes.
And that's exactly what this movie does. And it answers that question, and it takes us through if he had come to Earth as a child and figured out he had all these powers, if he decided to turn against humanity. And I really enjoyed this movie.
I really liked it. I kept making comparisons to anybody who has watched Smallville.
Yeah.
The show about Superman. And how it was basically, Smallville was like nurture.
Yeah.
And then Brightburn is nature.
Mm-hmm.
So is he going to be evil just because he's going to be evil? Because they had the same great parents who were there for them and everything. And one was good and one was bad.
Yeah.
Which is also where the name Brightburn comes from, just like Smallville is. It's the town that he comes to.
Yep.
Which was really cool.
And it is in Brightburn, Kansas. So in 2006, you've got this couple, Tori and Kyle Breyer. So this is Elizabeth Banks and David Denman. And they're just a couple out in, like we said, Brightburn, Kansas. It's this very rural farming community, very small. You open on this scene of them basically about to have sex, but it's not just, like, not that they're not enjoying it, but you also see, I mean, tons of, like, fertility, pregnancy books. So you can see that they've been trying for a long time and have not had success in getting pregnant. So she is desperate for a baby. And that's the first conversation they have. So one night, a spaceship falls basically into their yard, and of course it has a baby inside. And so she takes the baby and names it Brandon. So I have a quick question. The government just is like, yeah, you can have it. It landed in your yard. It doesn't have to go through like agencies.
I always wondered that too. Like watching Smallville even.
Yeah.
You're like, how? How did they do all that?
It landed in my yard. Keepsies. It's on my property. It's my baby now.
I guarantee you, once you start putting him into school, they're going to need some sort of papers.
Exactly.
What the hell?
So I'm wondering if they like went through something.
I do remember in Smallville, Lex Luthor's father being all sketchy helped them out with those. So maybe they had some sketchy dude that helped them.
Maybe. Or maybe people were like, they tried so hard. Just let them have it.
It's okay if they stole it from someone. It's all right.
And the child's name is Brandon. And then it shows, there's this montage of, like, him growing up, and it's, like, home movies and things like that. And then it cuts to him basically turning 12. As this kind of, he's hitting almost puberty age, and shit starts happening. And really, up until he turns 12, he's been, like, this perfect child. He is a super genius. He's sweet and kind. He's best friends with his mom. And why does every horror movie, not every, I say that like that, but a lot of them have, like, these, like, whistle scenes.
What I loved is it was, like, you have Effie, and it's, like, Hunger Games whistling. I'm
Because they play this, like, hide-and-seek game, and one of them goes, and the other goes, or whatever, and of course, I was like, oh, that's going to come back later and be terrifying. And it does. And it's just interesting because, like, in The Conjuring, they have the clap, and then somehow they have the whistle. It's just interesting. And see, I'm never doing that with my kids. We're just going to play the regular old hide and seek where you don't talk. You just hide. And then right before he turns 12, he starts to hear these strange voices in his head and in his sleep and in this weird language. And the first real instance you get of him figuring out that he has superhuman strength is his dad tells him that he needs to mow the lawn. And he can't get the lawnmower started, so he gets impatient and he basically throws it across the yard. I
don't know who can get fucking lawnmower started.
Dude,
I do that thing over and over, and I'm going, Connor, please help.
Yeah, it took Brad forever when the snow and the rain finally stopped to get that shit going. And then he walks over to where he threw the lawnmower, and he sticks his hand, this is in the trailer, and he sticks his hand in the blade and stops it, and it actually bends on his hand. So he's like, what the fuck?
That's a little intense to figure out if you're invincible.
Yeah.
A fucking lawnmower.
Yeah, definitely. That's like that's real risky.
Yeah, man.
That thing's either going to chop your hand off or you have superhuman strength. And for most people, immediately they're like, oh, it's going to chop my hand off.
Exactly.
But this voice or whatever basically is telling him
it
to
keeps
do
like controlling him.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least persuading him.
Mm-hmm.
So that same night, he sleepwalks to the barn, which his parents don't want him to go into the barn. They say it's because there's like nails and loose wood and things like that, but there's really just stuff in there they're trying to hide. And whatever this voice is draws him to the barn, and like I said, he's essentially sleepwalking. He's not really, at first when this all starts happening, he's not really super conscious of what's happening to him. He's, like you said, being controlled by this. And
he seems really scared, like when he wakes up and stuff.
Exactly. And there's this basically trapdoor that's chained and locked, and he's just on top of it, like over and over, trying to pull it open.
Yeah.
And it's just banging and banging and banging. And his mother is looking for him and finds him out in the barn and walks up behind him while he's trying to get this thing open. And then she wakes him up, and he is really confused and freaked out and doesn't know why he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then as this progresses, he goes from this beautiful, perfect child to he starts talking back. Like, he's just this weird. He gets real creepy. And he's really disrespectful towards his parents. And I hated this scene so much. So Brandon's dad, Kyle, is a little more wary of him as he starts developing these weird things, because he's kind of the mindset in the whole movie. We've raised this child, but we have no idea where he came from or who he is.
Right.
Like, most people, when a spaceship... I mean, honestly, if a spaceship crashed in my yard and there was a baby inside, my first thought wouldn't be like, I need to raise it and protect. I'd be like, call fucking NASA, because this is some alien shit, and I'm not getting into this. Like, somebody needs to take this child because it's poor and helpless, but it's not going to be me because I'm not equipped to handle whatever just crashed into my yard.
Right.
Call the government. They can take it, whatever. Which is probably bad, because they'll probably just experiment with it, but then shit like this happens.
Exactly.
And Brandon notices one morning, okay, you know, I have a thing with teeth.
Yeah.
Anything about teeth?
I don't have a thing with teeth, and this one bothered me. If anybody likes gore, but you also like a story, go see this fucking movie.
Yeah.
It is so good. The gore isn't distasteful either. It makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, but it was brutal. Some of it was so brutal.
Yeah.
We'll get there in a minute of what I thought was the most brutal, but okay. But you hear this like, oh God, I can't even talk. You hear this like metallic grinding. Oh God.
Yeah.
And it's him chewing on a fork and bending the prongs.
It takes a while. Like, you hear that sound for a long time.
Oh my God. And so, like, if you've ever, like, bitten down on a fork and gotten that metallic, like,
and then it just makes you
shudder. Yeah. I don't really know what that is, but, oh my God. And just, or if you've ever accidentally bitten down on foil, that stomp.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God. It was bad. That bothered me more than all the gore in this movie. Anyway, but Brandon's like, the fuck? Because he's like, Brandon.
Freaked out when he sees it.
Yeah, as he should be. Because I'd be like, my kid is fucked up. And then Tori is like in his room, and she finds these like weird drawings in his notebook, and then also these weird printouts of like, you see women in like Victoria's Secret ads, but then you see like pictures of organs, like, and like shit that's inside the body.
I would turn him in. I would be like,
he's got fucked up. He's either going to be a real good doctor or a real good serial killer.
We're taking him to a psychologist right now.
Yep. So they decide that they're going to go camping as a family, and they need to give Brandon the talk while they're out there. And so Kyle is giving Brandon the talk while they're like out hunting and waiting for a deer. And he's like, he basically is like, it's okay if you masturbate. It's totally fine. And Brandon is like, what? Like, play with what? And he's like, play with it. And he's like, play with what? And he's like, your penis. It's so awkward. But I'm sure pretty real, like, as far as talking to a kid. But
there are a bunch of things in this where it's real. Like, this is how people would actually react. Yeah.
And it's so funny, but so awkward. And then he's like, you know, if you just whip it out every now and then and play with it. And he's like right now? And Kyle's like, no. So in an earlier scene, you see that Brandon is answering a question in class, and he's giving the teacher a lot more information than she probably even knew about the subject. And they're talking about like bees versus wasps or something like that. And he gets made fun of for knowing so much about it. And so this girl turns around and she's like, it's okay, smart guys rule the world eventually, or whatever. So she's being nice to him. And so he's like, wow, I like you. So the night that they talk to him about girls and puberty, Brandon, like, they're like 30 miles away camping. And Brandon goes to the house of his classmate Caitlin, which is the one that was nice to him. And he's staring at her through her window until she basically, like, her laptop keeps coming up and it keeps playing this one song.
He's being like a creepy...
Even after she closes it, it keeps opening and playing the song again. And so she's getting really freaked out. And then she sees Brandon standing basically behind her curtains. And then she yells for her mom, and her mom comes in, and of course he's gone.
He gets so creepy possessive so fast.
Yeah. And he leaves, you know, but she's like, it was Brandon Breyer. Like, that was Brandon Breyer. I don't know. Like, that's very specific. So either your kid's imagining that, or this creepy kid was actually in her room. And that's scary. Even for a 12-year-old kid, like, you don't know what stuff they're seeing or watching, or, you know, think is okay. So the next night they get home, something else really weird happens. Kyle is in the barn and he hears the chickens starting to scream.
This was the
all
worst
of
part.
These scenes are pretty drawn out, but not in like a okay, oh my god, this is taking forever way, but in like a eerie, like, oh my god, I want this to be over because it's so scary or creepy or whatever. And he sees Brandon just staring at them, and the chickens are freaking the fuck out. And I have chickens, and when there is something wrong, let's say just like a mouse in their coop, or just there's a neighborhood cat that sometimes gets into our backyard and like walks around the coop, they will start screaming to like fend it off, or just like sound the alarm to the other chickens. They're loud. And so they were all freaking out and basically screaming. And so Kyle thinks it's a wolf because they've been having a wolf problem, and he goes out with his gun and sees Brandon there just staring at them. Yep. And then they later discover the chickens all slaughtered. Like, not eaten. No. Just fucked up. Like, it's real gruesome.
Second thing I would turn him in for, going to a fucking psychologist, or you're going to juvie.
I mean, if your kid ever kills an animal like that just for funsies, that's
a serial killer.
Yeah, that's like, I think everyone knows that. You know, that's a serial killer.
Exactly.
Like,
which that catches on fast.
Yeah. And poor Tori, she is, I think, such a good mother that she is going to, and she even says this later, defend her son at all costs. Yeah. But Kyle has been weirded out by him pretty much since the beginning of this movie, when all this weird stuff started happening. And so he says, nope, that was Brandon. He did it. I saw him standing there the night before. And Tori says, it's just a fucking wolf, Kyle. Like, lay off. And then it cuts to, this is really when shit starts taking off, because the next morning at school, they're basically in a gym class and doing this. I would never do this with kids because kids are assholes, first of all. But they're doing this like trust fall exercise where they put one kid in the middle and they have them all fall against the other kids, and the other kids push them around. And the gym teacher's like trying to do like this lesson about trusting each other and taking care of each other. And then, of course, they put Brandon in the middle, who is made fun of. And he goes towards Caitlin, and Caitlin lets him fall because she's scared of him now. He was in her room, and she calls him a pervert for spying on her. And then the gym teacher basically says, you need to help him up because he's fallen. And when she does, he not only grips her hand so tightly that it breaks, but he grips and then he like twists it.
Oh my god, he breaks the fuck out of her hand.
It was rough. And then, of course, Caitlin's mother, Erica, comes, and
whom I love, she's right. He's a fucking psycho.
They're all, and of course Erica's pissed that like this kid is a danger. You need to get him out of this school. And the principal basically says, we're going to suspend him for 2 days, and he's going to have to see the counselor. And the counselor's like, the counselor's his aunt.
Exactly.
So like,
I wouldn't be okay with that either.
Yeah, that's his fucking family. Because there was an earlier scene where he actually turned 12 and there was a diner. And if you've seen the trailer, especially the Red Band trailer, it's all about this waitress getting fucked up, which we'll get to in a minute. But you see the waitress in the previous scene is Erica.
Yeah.
And she serves him his, like, sundae for his birthday or whatever. And his aunt and uncle give him a gun, and
his dad freaks out.
His dad freaks out about it and says no. But that's really all that scene has to do with significance. That's, like, the first instance of him
fighting back.
Fighting back, exactly. But so Erica, we've seen her already. And, you know, Kristin and I were like, oh, she's the waitress. Yep. She's about to get it.
You see her so early in it, and you've seen the trailer, so you're like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. So he's going after this little girl, basically, and he's fighting for anything that's between them.
Yes.
At 12.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
And so, of course, Erica is pissed and says, do you even know who his real parents are? And is going after the parents, too, because she's right. Mm-hmm. Like, he's scary, and do you even know why? Like, you don't know anything about him. And so you can kind of, the whole town knows that this kid just, like, was adopted. I'm sure they don't know he just crashed to Earth, but, you know, like, so they all are starting to see that something is off. And so now he has to report to his Aunt Marilee for counseling afterwards, and he's suspended for 2 days. Would not be enough, in my opinion,
Absolutely
either.
Not.
If somebody literally, if a kid broke my daughter's hand, I'd be like, can you suspend him for, like, at least a week? 2 days? Really? Get him out of the general public. He's clearly got anger issues. Send him to a real, like, psychiatrist, not just his aunt who does school counseling. Come on. So, shit's picking up again, and Tori, that night, finds him levitating over the trapdoor that he was trying to get into previously, a few nights ago. And it has that spaceship that he crashed to Earth. They hid it under this trapdoor. They kept it. And he is now repeating the phrase after he figures out what it is in this weird language. It is "take the world." So you're like, oh, fuck.
Right.
There's no chance this kid's going to be good because he's just being told by whatever this is. And they probably sent one of each of him to, like, a bunch of different planets to take them all over.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I hate that.
Or maybe just Earth. But I'm like, if they did that on purpose, maybe they just sent a bunch of little pods out with little babies that are going to grow up and take over that planet.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You should write these.
They'd mostly be based on my dreams. And so basically he gets into it because he's got superhuman strength. And Tori goes down with him. And when he gets down there, he actually gets cut by this spaceship. And this is the first time you've ever seen him injured, and she's ever seen him injured at all. One of the things Kyle is so freaked out about, and I don't know if he says this before this or after this, because I couldn't take notes. There were too many people in the theater, but he says he's never bled. He's never gotten a bruise. He's never had a concussion. He's never broken a bone. Like, there's something wrong with him. And this is the first time you see him actually bleed. And he's like, it cut me.
Yeah, he's shocked. Freaked out.
So basically this literally is Superman if he were evil, because that's his kryptonite.
Yeah. And
then Tori tells him how they came to adopt him, that it wasn't through an agency, and he basically crashed to Earth. And so Brandon is pissed about being lied to, and he goes in to the house and just starts, like, breaking shit and losing his mind. And then he basically leaves, and you find out he's also got laser eyes.
Yeah.
Because he gets so mad. And he decides that he's going to go to Caitlin's house. And so he brings her flowers, and he's basically, I wouldn't say, like, apologizing. He's just like, here's some flowers. I like you. And she says, my mom told me not to talk to you. And he's like, oh, I'm going to take care of that.
Yeah. That poor girl, God. Man.
Yeah. So then we get the diner scene. So this trailer has been in theaters. It's been in theaters for probably about 6 months now. So if you haven't seen the trailer, I'm shocked because it's been everywhere. Yeah. But this murder scene, most of it is in the trailer, and almost all of it is in the Red Band trailer. So even if you don't see the movie, you could watch this if you really wanted to, but it's pretty brutal. Which some people will be like, bet, I'm gonna go watch. Caitlin's mother is a waitress at the diner, and she is closing the diner up by herself. And he has made now this, like, mask and cape situation that covers his entire face that kind of looks like a red ski mask with, like, a red cape. And the blanket that they found him in looks pretty close to this material, so it may be the same thing. But he goes into the diner, and he murders her, would be, like, the merciful way to say it.
Yeah.
So basically, he scares her first. Lights flickering. You see this little symbol that he's been writing in his notebook, and it's basically a backwards B and a forward B with like a line in the middle. It's just like his signature, basically. And he puts it in all the windows, and it's like frosted over. So you see all these in the window. And then she's looking up at this fluorescent light, and it shatters while she's looking up at it. And she gets a shard of glass, probably the size of my pinky, through her eyeball.
And you see the whole thing. Once again, if you love gore...
Because she pulls it out.
Watch this movie.
It is not a movie that is just going to cut away and do implied gore.
No.
It zooms in on her eye, and you see it when her eye moves around, the glass moves around. It's very realistic. But it's like so realistic that it's like I literally... It's really hard to...
Everybody in the audience was like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god.
Yeah. I mean, and this was not one of those movies where it was so like loud that it was annoying, but there were some people that were like, oh shit. I think Connor even said something loud at one point because he was
both like...
And so people were like, oh god, oh my god, you know, and it was really brutal. And she gets the glass out and her eye just starts spurting blood. And I gotta say, then you see kind of her point of view, and so one side of her vision is completely red because it's implying that she is seeing through blood. But I don't even think, as someone that we work in eyeballs, that's the part of healthcare that we're in, and I don't even think that you could get a piece of glass like that in your eye without it taking out your retina. And I don't think she'd be able to see it all. I think it would just slice through her retinas and her vision would be lost. So, eyeball aside, that's awful, but she still realizes she's being hunted. So she can't even, like, sit and dwell on that pain. She's got to just move the fuck on. So she goes into a freezer, I'm assuming. It's like a deep freeze, and she locks it, and then he uses his laser eyeballs to cut through it and fly the door off the hinges, and then you just see him leap at her, and then it cuts the scene. So she did. I mean, you can assume so. Yeah.
We don't know until the end what happens.
But... honestly, just kill me. If I wouldn't have even probably pulled the glass out of my eyeball. I'm like, nope. I just would rather die.
Yeah. I agree.
Eyeballs and teeth. And they had both of these things in this movie. Luckily, no teeth getting, like, knocked out, but just the fork scene. Just like... So, the next day, I suppose, or maybe a day or two after... Brandon is in his aunt's counseling, her office. So she basically asked, do you have any remorse for what you did? And he said, no. He basically says sometimes bad things happen to people if they deserve it. Yeah. And so she's like, I love you and you're my nephew, but I can't not tell the sheriff that you're not
like a psychopath,
that you're not making any progress. Yeah. And so he says, it's really not good for you to tell the sheriff. If it gets to that to me, I'd be like, I quit. I'm not doing it anymore. And so that night, he says, you shouldn't tell the sheriff and you shouldn't tell my parents. Mm-hmm. That night, he goes to her house and he's like, you can't tell the sheriff. And she's like, Brandon, I have to do my job. And he's like, it's not good for you. It's really, really not good for you. And she's like, you need to leave. She even threatens to call the police if he doesn't leave to get them to take him home. Yeah. And so then she's got this. So first of all, no one in this movie ever turns on a fucking TV. Like, I know you're in the farm and everything, but you all have iPhones. You all, like, it's not like
she's
this is the 60s.
In the dark, basically, at night. There's, like, one lamp on.
Yeah, she's got, like, this sunken-in living room or sunroom or something, and her backyard patio light security system keeps coming on and says, like, motion, backyard or something.
So she's got a security system.
Yeah, and she just keeps seeing it come on, but she doesn't turn on the fucking light, which baffles me because I won't even walk around in my house with it all dark like that.
Right?
Nope. And my house is pretty small, so there's not like a lot of dead space, but nope.
If it's a large house that you have basically in the dark, turn on a fucking TV for some sound. Make you feel like someone's there.
Yeah. Because her husband, Noah, has been out drinking with, or playing pool, and too with Brandon's dad. Yeah. Kyle. So he's out. So she's home alone when this is all happening. And she even goes outside at one point to investigate what's going on in her backyard. If my sensors kept going off, I'd be like, nope. Staying inside with doors locked, because if there's somebody out there, they're probably not here to do anything good for me.
Exactly.
Because even, like, let's say Brad comes home late, he usually tells me, hey, I'm on my way home, so I would know, like, if that's him. Then Marilee decides to go to bed, even after all of this motion in her backyard and going out there and not seeing anything. And she texts Noah and she's like, hey, going to sleep, good night, I love you, or whatever. And so then you see her lay down in bed. And Brandon's like around because you see him like outside the window. But before he can really do anything, Noah gets home. Now, Noah left the bar and Kyle was like, let me drive you home. He's like, no, it's only a couple miles. So he's been drinking and he decides to drive anyways. It's not like he's hammered, but he probably shouldn't be driving. And he gets home and he goes to brush his teeth and stuff. And you see Brandon in the reflection of the fucking mirror. Dude. And it's really creepy. And then he finds Brandon fucking hiding in his closet.
His reaction is true, though. That's how we would be like, oh my fucking God, what the fuck are you doing here? Get the fuck out.
Yeah. And he gets so mad and he's like, oh, what? I'm going to tell your fucking parents. Like, and he's raging and dragging this kid outside and to the truck. And he said, I'm going to take you home and I'm going to tell your parents. And then Brandon's like, it's not good for you. Do not tell my parents. Do not tell my parents. It's really not good for you. And he puts him in the truck and then this is the most brutal gore scene in my opinion in this whole movie. Because there's some brutal ones coming up, but this one was the worst one to me. And so, of course, Brandon's not going to stay in the car.
No.
And then Noah, this is the truest horror movie reaction to being in this situation that I have ever seen in any horror movie, in my opinion. Noah is played by Matt Jones, who has a very distinctive voice, if you don't know who that is, but he's really good in this scene. The acting is really good because he basically is driving and his truck cuts out and he sees Brandon flying in front of his truck and the lights are going on and off and he's like, no, not
happening. This isn't happening. Nope.
And then he's trying to get his car to start and he's like, come on, not right now. We gotta go. Mm-hmm. And he's just like in straight up like, nope, which is exactly what I'm like all the time.
Exactly.
If something scary is happening. And of course, Brandon fucks this shit up. So he picks his truck up from the back and completely stands it up on its nose. And then he lifts it up and drops it straight down on the headlights. So my only thought about what I didn't like with this scene is at that point, even if I didn't have my seatbelt on, I'd be like, seatbelt? Putting on the seatbelt. Because we're going to go flying out the windshield if we don't. I don't know if he didn't have it on.
Think about it.
But I think that would be the first thing I thought of. Like, if I'm hanging there, nothing's keeping me there unless I put my seatbelt on.
I think I would just be thinking, oh my God.
Yeah, maybe. But he doesn't put a seatbelt on. So when he gets dropped, the steering wheel goes into his mouth and breaks his bottom jaw off from the rest of his head.
So, like, it's being held on by skin, but
the bone is definitely broken off. Fucked. It went all the way basically through the back of his head. And the worst part of this scene, so when the car is on the ground, you see it. He's not quite dead yet.
That was the worst part for me. I was like, well, at least he's dead. And
that
then he fucking gurgles. And I'm
scene was so fucking long because he grabs his bottom jaw and like pushes it up.
He's trying to like hold on to it.
It had to have been at least like 2 solid minutes of this like slushy, gurgly, bloody, nasty.
Where
and
Brandon's
it was
just watching him
my
bleed
stomach
out.
Was really churning, and Brandon's just like staring at him.
Yeah,
like in this
like
creepy. And he like sticks his finger in and grabs some of his blood, and then he makes his little mark on the pavement with his uncle's blood. And it was just awful.
Yeah. But a great awful.
Yes. Now, also to note, the sheriff of the town at Erica's murder scene, they did not find Erica's body. She's just missing. He did see the symbol, Brandon's initials, and his little signature in the glass. And now he's made it again. So the sheriff quickly puts these together as this is a killer's signature. Now, Tori and Kyle find out about Noah's death, and they tell Brandon, and he's like, oh.
Yeah, he has no reaction.
And Tori's like, you can cry, and he's like, I feel like you want me to cry? because he came home really late the night before and he had his shirt off and he wouldn't let them see his shirt because it had blood on it.
Yeah.
So immediately after all of this, after him coming home late, they knew he was lying about where he was right off the bat because they talked about it. They're like, oh, he's fucking lying.
Mm-hmm.
And taking off his shirt and not letting his mom wash it when she asked, Kyle's like, he killed Noah. I'm positive that he killed Noah.
And he gets there fast, which is good.
Yeah. Kyle's done.
Mm-hmm.
He is super done. And he basically has this confrontation in the kitchen the next morning and accuses Brandon of lying. And then Brandon just throws him against the wall on the opposite side of the room.
Which I feel like glass would have probably gone into him.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
Yeah. He just got thrown. And then Brandon goes up to shower. And while he's in the shower, Kyle goes into his room and finds the bloody shirt. And he's like, again, convinced.
Mm-hmm.
But then Brandon walks in on him. He's like, what are you doing? And he shoves the shirt into his pants waistband. And he's like, I just wanted to apologize. And then, of course, Kyle is like, he's scary. He's developing powers. He's going to hurt and kill more people.
Right.
And Tori is still being his mother. Like, you are not going to talk about our son like he's a fucking murderer, basically. So their relationship is really strained.
Yeah.
Because that's her baby. And he's like, nope, that's fucking mutant. Like,
right.
No. And then Kyle even goes a step further, and it's really sad because he's looking at these like Father's Day cards and birthday cards and stuff that Brandon has done for him through his entire life. Because again, up until he basically turned 12, he was the perfect son for them. He was great. And he's crying and going through all these homemade cards and photos. And then he tells Tori that night, I'm going to take him out for the weekend and show him that his dad still loves him. And that's all he tells Tori.
Yeah.
He takes Brandon on this hunting trip. And Brandon, it's kind of sad because he's like getting into it. He's like, oh, there are deer tracks. I think there's more than one deer track. And he bends down to look at the tracks. And then Kyle shoots him in the back of the head. And he just gets up like he threw a pebble at him.
I was like, I mean, you knew what he was doing. You knew why he took him out there. But it's like, as he's holding up the gun, you're like, please don't. He's going to kill the fuck out of you.
And during this scene, it's also cutting back to Tori at the house. And Tori actually finds these gruesome drawings of Erica's death, of Noah's death.
And the sheriff pops up saying, I think your son is doing some shit.
Yeah. And she's like, you need to leave. And then she finds all these drawings. So Tori figures it out while Kyle is trying to kill him. And of course, since Brandon is unharmed, he's hurt and betrayed by his father. And so he uses his fucking laser eyes. First of all, he shoots his laser beam eyes, the lasers into his dad's eyes until it goes all the way through to the back of his skull. Yeah. And Tori calls Kyle, basically, somebody picks up, but she doesn't hear anybody say hello. And she says, you're right. He's killing people, da-da-da. And then he's like, all right, Mom, I'm home. Mm-hmm. And then she says, where's Dad? And Brandon's like, he's gone. And she's like, what do you mean gone? He's like, you know what I mean. He's gone. So then Brandon starts fucking up the house and coming after his mother. Like, he's flying from one side of the house all the way through to the other while breaking down the walls as he's going through. Since he's basically indestructible, he's just like going through it like he's a fucking bullet, you know. And Tori is able to call the cops, which doesn't fucking help. But she does call the cops, and the cops show up, and he kills them pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was really
more
fast.
Gurgling sounds by the female cop, too. And his mother, they're kind of playing this game. There's a lot of cat and mouse in this. Mm-hmm. And so they're playing cat and mouse a little bit, and she is hiding from him and eventually escapes out a window, and she goes to the barn where the spaceship is because she thinks it cut him. That's what's going to kill him. And she grabs a shard of it and to use as a knife, hoping it will kill Brandon, since it's the only thing that seems to be able to penetrate his skin. And when she goes to find this kryptonite, if you will, she looks over as she's pulling the shard from the ship, and she sees Erica's body, and like all of her insides are missing.
Yeah, she's like pinned up against the wall like you would dissect a frog. Yeah, and her inside
are just totally gone. You see, like, from her chest to basically her legs is completely hollow, pretty much. And so she's, of course, horrified. And then they find each other with this little whistle game, and Tori basically is like, I still love you. Because she's said over and over, you'll always be my baby boy. And so she hugs him and tells him that she knows that there's good in him. And he says he wants to do good, but he just can't.
Yeah.
And so she hugs him and starts crying, and Tori tries to stab him, but he's faster and smarter and supernatural, and he grabs her arm and then lifts her up. This is terrifying because
I got
you have
such vertigo with this.
Did you?
Dude.
You have such a long, so he flies her up above the clouds, like plane level. So what is that, like 40,000 feet? 20,000 feet? It just depends on where you are, but I mean, that is such a long time to know that you're going to die, and such a long way to fall to your death. That's really fucked. Like, you'll die instantly when you hit the ground, but it's getting to the ground, because he holds her there for a while, like, and just looks at her. And of course she goes to touch his face and is like, you're still my baby boy, and he just fucking drops her.
And she falls for a while.
Yeah.
And like I said, the vertigo of watching her fall, oh my god, I was like, I can't.
Yeah. It was rough. And then you see a plane flying towards him, and you know that he's gonna fuck everyone on that plane. And he crashes the plane into the farm on purpose, killing everyone on board. So then it cuts to the next day, and there's a news report about the plane crash and that he was the lone survivor on the farm. And then there was this, I think it was supposed to be a mid-credit scene, but there is a scene right after the end of the movie of all of these weird things happening all around the world, especially starting in Brightburn, Kansas, where he is.
All this weird shit.
Buildings coming down, people getting killed, mass murders, like just all of these instances. And there's like a conspiracy theorist, like on YouTube, or what is supposed to be YouTube, saying we need to wake up because something is fucking our shit up. And he shows all of these images of this kid in this mask.
There's Merle from Walking Dead.
Yeah. I knew he looked familiar. Yeah. And so he's nicknamed Brightburn by the media after the city he's from. And this conspiracy blogger's name is the Big T. And he reports him as a half-man, half-sea creature sinking ships in the South China Sea, a figure in red, and a supernatural woman choking people with rope and compelling them to tell the truth, linking them with Brightburn and saying that these superpowered beings are out on Earth. So it ends with Earth basically in this apocalyptic state being taken over by these beings.
Yeah.
And it was really good. I really liked this movie.
It was a really good movie.
I saw a lot of good reviews on it. And then I saw, like, Roger Ebert gave it, like, a 1 out of 4. I think, like, for the horror genre, I've always thought, you know, what if Superman, or really any of these supernatural superheroes, were evil? But especially Superman, because what's so scary about him is he's untouchable, invincible, he can fly, superhuman strength, he's got laser beam fucking eyes, like, what do we do as human beings if something like that wants to take us out?
Exactly.
We don't do anything. We can't do anything. We can't nuke it. We can't shoot it. We can't burn it. Like, there's literally nothing we can do unless we get this obscure random piece of a spaceship that it came down on, and that we can't really turn that into a weapon because there's a finite amount of that we can actually get our hands on.
Exactly.
So we'd be fucked. And that's the scariest part of this movie. Like, yes, the kid being creepy and stuff is scary, but if something like that ever, it kind of goes back to the alien things, which I feel like we've talked a lot about aliens, but it kind of goes back to that. Like, if they are so much more advanced than we are, we can't do anything, and then if we nuke everything, we just kill ourselves too. So I thought this was genuinely scary, and it was also gory, and it had a good cast, and I thought the story was pretty good, because I think a lot of people have would love to see that different side of, like, Superman, if you will. So I thought it was good. I think James Gunn did a good job. I think the directors did a good job, and I think the actors did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there were a few little holes here and there, but, like, it was really entertaining, and I didn't really have too much to complain about right after the movie. I wasn't, like, let down or anything. I think this is probably, I mean, between all our hype episodes, we've done, like, Bird Box, La Llorona, Extremely Wicked, we saw the new Pet Cemetery. It's been kind of, so far, a little disappointing with horror. Not completely, but...
Minus Us.
Yeah, Us was amazing, and this was not as good as Us. but it was good.
And Prodigy was real good.
And the Prodigy was good, yeah. So there have been a couple good ones, and this one's up there with the good ones. And it's almost 50-50 on good and bad so far this year.
I know, right?
So we'll see what happens. There's a lot coming out this summer, so we'll see what that holds. But I thought this was a pretty good start to the summer horror
I think so too. It
movies.
was really good.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd give it a flat out 5, but like a 4.5, definitely.
Yeah, I'd
really
say
good.
Probably about 4 out of 5 for me too. I enjoyed it. Before we sign off for Brightburn, this has been a long time coming. We're going to unbox I Get Loot Fright.
Yes.
It's supposed to be every other month, and I was supposed to get this box in April, but there was like a huge issue with shipping. Loot Crate is so big, and they have so many subcategories. They've got like anime, Marvel, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Like they've just got so many subgenres. I think that Loot Fright's one of their smaller ones.
Yeah.
And something happened, and I didn't actually get it until like May 24th, and it's the 27th, and I was supposed to get it in mid-April. But Loot Crate did give me a credit for the loot shop or the vault, and so they gave it to me preemptively too. I didn't even have to email them. They just sent me an email. They're like, this is going to be really behind. It's not going to ship out till May. We're really sorry. Here's some money. Go spend it in the shop. And I was like, that's cool, because now we've had issues with both Creeper Crate and Loot Fright, but we did find out Creeper Crate's owner has been having some health issues, so she actually closed down shop for now. She will reopen, but she's going through some stuff. And then Loot Fright is, I think, like I said, just one of their smaller ones. But we both got our Creeper Crate and our Loot Frights finally, so we get it to do an unboxing. Not sponsored, unfortunately, for now. You want to go first? I think your Creeper Crate. You can do that first since you waited so long for the first one.
I'll go first just because mine's small, so I'm sure it'll be fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there's like a bag, and it's got...
like a canvas bag, but not really canvas.
And it's got all kinds of things on there, like Shining and It, Nosferatu, Misery.
Jack Torrance is up. It looks Kristin, I think.
This was called the Writer's Box, and it's got... yeah, it's got all kinds of characters from Stephen King. That's what it is.
Got it.
Okay. Got some Salem's Lot coasters. There's a few of them in there, so I don't think it's all...
It's
just King coasters.
Yeah, so that one's
the top
like
one is Salem's Lot, but there's probably others in there. A sticker of Kristin of the car.
She's cute.
She's cute. I have a pin. Is Zelda dead yet? And it's got
that's spooky as shit.
Zelda on it. Yeah, that's
from
pretty
Pet
creepy
Cemetery.
from Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
Keychain. Sadly, I don't know what this is from. California license plate number CQB 241.
That might be Kristin.
Maybe. And that's it.
So this Loot Fright, technically April's, but I got it in May, is the Midnight Snack Box. I don't think there are actually snacks in here, unfortunately, but I think that's just like the theme. So both of these that I've gotten have had t-shirts in them.
Okay.
Which I think it's only like $39 for 2 boxes. It's really not that bad. So this one has...
oh, gross.
Yeah. It's a shirt from the movie The Fly, so it's pretty
it's pretty gruesome.
nasty.
It's got him standing there and he's like vomiting stuff up.
Oh yeah, that's cute.
That's cute.
And it's got this really... it's a phone stand, but it's like they're
it's
fangs.
vampire teeth.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Not like a pop socket, like when you actually like set your phone into.
That's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's like silver... yeah, silver teeth.
That's so cool. Vampires are awesome.
And then there's a little Mordio pin. I've gotten a pin in each one too, which is cool. And then I've also gotten one of these every time. This is a Baby Yaga. I'm not familiar with this, so don't come for me. But it's basically like, this one is like an ornament kind of, but also a bookmark. Like I got a lighter on a bookmark in the last one. So that's cute. It's really heavy too, so it's nice.
That's cool.
And then I hate this, but so this is actually a paper bag, and it says, this vomit bag and the price of one admission will enable you to see the devil made me spew it. Scary Devil Girl 2 Inner Demons. And it's got this basically movie poster on this paper bag that is like a vomit bag.
That's gross.
And then this is probably my favorite thing. It's actually a recipe box. It's the Twilight Zone recipe box, and it includes 50 blank recipe cards and a set of dividers, which is cool because I've been getting really back into baking, and I can keep stuff on my phone, but I'm one of those people, like, I really like just writing things down as opposed to keeping them in my phone. That way, if I get a new phone or lose it or it gets wiped or something, they're written here. And the recipe box is a really cool thing. So I think this is my favorite thing from the box. So I have not been disappointed with Loot Fright. And I've only gotten 2 boxes. Other than the shipping issue with this one, I have not been disappointed at all in Loot Fright. And I would recommend it if you are looking for a horror subscription box. There are more that we may look into. It's just... they're smaller boxes, like more local or like small businessy.
Probably keep trying to find something because unfortunately I'm done with Creeper Crate.
Yeah.
And even if I wasn't done, she's now done for a while at least. So that was my last box, but I'll probably look into something else. Yeah,
and I'll probably continue to get Loot Fright, and if you can't find anything, you should get one too because it's really cool. So thank you for joining us for this hype episode. Really recommend going and see Brightburn, even though we just spoiled all of the movie for you. If you haven't seen it, it's still something visually you should see, even if you know the plot.
Absolutely.
And it's not, yes, this is a spoiler review, but also, if you've seen the trailer, you pretty much know how this goes. He's bad Superman. That's
exactly.
So you're still going to get a lot out of it, I feel like, if you go see it. But we are working on another Haunted Happy Hour coming up. So if you have any stories or anybody you know or anything like that, even if they're famous stories and you are interested in us talking about them, we want your haunted dolls, haunted artifacts, like anything in that realm. Email us at theexorcisters@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Facebook and Instagram are The Exorcisters Podcast, and on Twitter it is just at The Exorcisters. You can also find us on our website at exorcisters.com. And until next time,
stay creepy.